Welcome back to opening day in 2005. The Boston Red Sox are looking to defend their first World Series title in over 80 years. The Washington Nationals are about to have their inaugural season. And for a lot of us at home, we were playing MVP Baseball 2005. Sometimes I wish I could go back and re-experience this era of baseball. And that's exactly what we're gonna do today. Because I found this roster on the vault made by Lord Weeze and R. Boone that features every team's 2005 roster. You've got the Yankees, of course, led by A-Rod, Mariano Rivera, a 41-year-old Randy Johnson, Derek Jeter. You've got the Chicago White Sox, the team that actually won the World Series in 2005, with Mark Burley, Paul Konerko, Jermaine Dye. Check out the 05 Astros with a crazy rotation featuring Roger Clemens, Andy Pettitte, and Roy Oswalt. Oh, look at my Halos, man. Big Daddy Vladdy, 99 overall. And look at him, man. Big Sexy. Respect the 05 Cy Young winner. We've even got the Florida Marlins featuring a 22-year-old Miguel Cabrera, AJ Burnett, Carlos Delgado, Dontrell. Look at the Mets with Pedro and Beltran and a young David Wright. And you already know Barry Bonds is here. I have such good memories from this time period, man. So today, I'm going to take this roster and simulate 5 seasons, and we're going to see what changes in the second half of the 2000s decade. Now, a couple things before we get started. Number one, this roster features the 26-man roster for every MLB team in 2005. It does not include every one of their prospects or players in the minor leagues. You can see here in AAA and in AA, everybody is just a generic player. This roster does feature some of the top prospects from around that time. Like we got Verlander, Robinson Cano, Ryan Howard, Ryan Braun, Zimmerman. But MLB The Show does not let you import custom draft classes, which means that as we go through this simulation, anybody that gets drafted is just going to be those randomly generated players by MLB The Show, not the players that were actually drafted in that class. So basically what I'm going to do is at the end of each season, I'm going to take like the top 5 or 10 players from that draft, and I'm just going to edit some of these minor league generic players, make them the drafted players, so we can at least get some of the representation from those classes. There's not really much else I can do. The other thing I want to point out is that in 2005, the Houston Astros were actually in the NL Central. They didn't move to the AL West until like 2014 or 15 or something like that. And unfortunately, MLB The Show has no way of reorganizing the divisions like that. So for the sake of this video, the Astros do just have to stay in the AL West. The last thing I want to mention is contracts. I didn't make this roster, so I didn't go through every team and verify every single one of their contracts is correct. This is a pretty detailed roster, so I would assume a lot of it is pretty close to being true. But if there's a guy that ends up being a free agent in a year where maybe he wasn't a free agent, sorry. But without further ado, I think it's time to restart 2005. As I start simulating, just a reminder that you can use code COOGS on SeatGeek to save $20 on any MLB tickets this season. That could buy you a hot dog or a beer or something at a game, so make sure to take advantage of that $20. We have our first trade already here in April. The Braves are trading Mike Hampton to the Cubs for Todd Hollinsworth and Ryan Dempster. We have another trade. Julio Lugo is going from the Devil Rays to the Nationals. And yes, I know the Devil Rays is spelled with 2 L's. That is an intentional typo because at this time they were known as the Devil Rays, not just the Rays, but when you actually use the word devil, MLB The Show lists that as inappropriate text. So it's 2 L's. Hey, Rich Aurelia is going back to the Giants. Kyle Loesch is headed to the Rays. The Blue Jays are trading Ted Lilly over to the Mets. Oh, the Giants are trading a young Brian Wilson to the Reds. The Giants are also picking up AJ Pierzynski from the White Sox. Adrian Gonzalez is going to the Marlins. That's kind of funny because Adrian Gonzalez was drafted by the Marlins, then got traded to the Rangers, and now in this sim, he's headed back to Florida. We have a big trade here as Houston Street is headed over to the White Sox. The A's get Freddie Garcia. John Olerud is heading back to the Blue Jays. The Red Sox are getting Juan Encarnacion for Kevin Millar. Oh, here we go, man. The A's are trading Scott Hatteberg for Mike Piazza. That's a funny trade. The Blue Jays have now acquired Edgar Renteria from the Red Sox. Damn, dude, the trades are on fire right now. The trade frequency, by the way, is still at normal. I have not touched it, so this is kind of wild. The Angels are trading Jared Washburn to the Phillies. Cleveland is getting Alex Gonzalez from the Marlins. Fernando Rodney is heading to the Pirates. And that leads us to the All-Star break. For the American League, Randy Johnson has the most votes for starting pitcher, with Mark Burley, Barry Zito, Bronson Arroyo, and Mike Mussina behind him. In the National League, we have Matt Morris getting the top votes. We have Chris Carpenter, also from the Cardinals, John Smoltz, Brandon Webb, and Jake Peavy. The AL catcher is going to be a young Joe Mauer. In the National League, it's Yachty. AL first baseman is going to be Lance Berkman, with, of course, Albert Pujols getting it in the NL. Second base is Jorge Cantu and Chase Utley. For third, we have A-Rod and David Wright. Shortstop is Jose Reyes from the Mets and Michael Young from the Rangers. Over in left field, you've got Miguel Cabrera beating out Barry Bonds. Wow. In the AL, it's Manny, of course. Center field is going to be Johnny Damon with Andrew Jones in the NL. And finally, the NL right fielder is Bobby Abreu, with Big Daddy Vladdy getting it in the AL. It's so sick to see an all-star team looking like this with these rosters, man. Now I kind of want to get through the trade deadline and see who else moves around. Preston Wilson is heading to the Blue Jays. Tony Clark is heading to the Braves. Felipe Lopez is heading to the Pirates. Joey Gathright is heading to the Astros. And this is the trade deadline. Let's see if anything else happened. Yep, Ben Broussard is going to the Pirates. And that's it. And now we're here at the end of the season in the American League East. The New York Yankees won the division and took home the 1 seed in the American League with 100 wins. Over in the AL Central, Cleveland actually tied with Minnesota for the best record in the division, but Cleveland did have the tiebreaker, so they are the division champions. And in the AL West, the Oakland Athletics won the division with 98 wins. Now, as far as the wild card, we have the Red Sox, the Twins, and the Angels all getting spots, but I should have also mentioned this at the beginning of the video as well. In 2005, there was just one wild card team. There was not 3, but similar to me not being able to move the Astros out of the West, I can't really change this in MLB The Show. There's no customization for this, so we're getting 3 wildcard teams here instead of 1. Now heading over to the National League in the East, the Phillies took the division with 94 wins. The St. Louis Cardinals would not only win the National League Central, but they would also clinch not just the best record in the National League, but also all of Major League Baseball at 104-58. And then finally in the National League West, the Dodgers won the division with 88 wins. And the 3 National League wildcard teams are the Mets, the Washington Nationals in their inaugural season, and the San Diego Padres. Let's take a look at some awards now. Here in 2005, Lance Berkman takes the AL MVP, 45 homers, 117 RBIs. It's so weird to see an Astro winning AL MVP in 2005. MLB The Show, let me reorganize the divisions, man. As far as NL MVP, that belongs to Carlos Delgado of the Florida Marlins with 41 homers and 121 RBIs. AL Cy Young is Bronson Arroyo with a 2.22 ERA, 185 strikeouts. And for the National League, it is Chris Carpenter of the Cardinals with a 19-6 record, struck out over 200 batters. For batting title, we've got Manny in the American League at 344 with Matt Lawton at 342 for the Cincinnati Reds. AL reliever of the year is Joe Nathan with 51 saves. In the NL, it's Trevor Hoffman with 44. Rookie of the year is Jorge Cantu of the Devil Rays, 37 homers and 102 ribbies as a rookie. Damn. For the National League, it's Ryan Howard, 36 bombs as a rookie. But now let's get to this postseason bracket. In the American League, the Minnesota Twins spoiled the Red Sox chances of repeating. They beat them in 2 games. Meanwhile, the Angels swept Cleveland to move on as well. In the National League, the Mets would beat the Washington Nationals, and the Dodgers beat the Padres. In the ALDS, the Minnesota Twins would continue to run through the AL East as they knock off the 1-seed Yankees in 5 games. Meanwhile, the Angels stay undefeated in the postseason as they also sweep the A's. Over in the National League, the 1-seed would also lose. The Mets would beat the Cardinals in 5, and the Dodgers beat the Phillies in 4. So now we have our championship series matchups set. In the AL, it's the Twins versus the Angels and the Mets against the Dodgers. And the Angels once again sweep the series. They beat the Twins while the Dodgers beat the Mets in 5, giving us a freeway World Series matchup. Dodgers Angels in the World Series is going to be electric. We got Vladimir Guerrero, K-Rod, Bartolo Colon, John Lackey, Orlando Cabrera, Sean Figgins, going up against Eric Gagne, Brad Penny, JD Drew, Jeff Weaver, Derek Lowe. So let's see how this goes, man. Game 1 of the World Series goes to the Angels. Game 2 also goes to the Angels. Bro, are they about to go undefeated in the playoffs? They're up 3-0. The Angels have a chance to complete one of the greatest postseason runs ever. And here in the 3rd inning, they have bases loaded, 2 outs for Vlad. They are down 1. It's a 3-2 count. Wow, that's actually a great pitch. The Angels would eventually tie things up with an RBI double from Orlando Cabrera, and later in the game, the Angels would actually get the lead thanks to back-to-back home runs from Benji Molina and Jeff Devannon. Can Irvin Santana get out of this jam? Looks like he's going to be able to. Ground ball to first. We are through 6, and the Angels hold on to a 1-run lead. And now they can add more with Vlad up again. 2 guys on, only 1 out. I mean, dude, if this actually happened in 2005, you would have seen tears rolling down 10-year-old me's face. I would have been over the moon. Bro, I might have tears running down my face today. My favorite player of all time hitting a 3-run home run in a World Series clinching game for my favorite team.
How can you not be romantic about baseball?
And now the Angels are just 1 strike away from winning the World Series with K-Rod on the mound. He dots him with a fastball high and in. The Angels win the 2005 World Series. They not only won this World Series, they just put together arguably the greatest postseason run of all time. They did not lose a single game in this postseason. Granted, they were the 3rd wildcard team, so if this was 2005, they wouldn't have actually made the playoffs. But hey, blame MLB The Show, not me. I can't change the amount of wildcard teams, damn it. World Series MVP belongs to Jeff Devannon. How does it not go to Vlad? He had the same amount of home runs and more RBIs in 1 game than Jeff Devannon had in the entire series. That's another thing MLB The Show has to figure out. Their awards can be so broken sometimes. All World Series MVP ever takes into account is batting average, I swear. But now we can officially get into the offseason. As far as some of the top free agents available, we've got Billy Wagner, Brian Giles, Rafael Furcal, AJ Burnett, BJ Ryan, Esteban Loaiza, Kyle Farnsworth, Johnny Damon, Nomar Garciaparra at only 32 years old. And we have our first trade of the offseason with the Phillies picking up Luis Gonzalez from the D-backs. The Braves are getting Torrey Hunter from the Twins. And we have our first big free agent signing. The Mets pick up Billy Wagner. I think that's actually exactly what happened in real life as well. The Dodgers grab Esteban Loaiza on a 4-year deal. Johnny Damon is headed to the Twins. BJ Ryan is going to the Phillies. Brian Giles is going to the Cardinals. Moises Alou is going to the Cubs. Come on, man. They're trying to make things right. They got to get Bartman back too. Whoa, the Astros are trading Jeff Bagwell for Chan-Ho Park. Now the Astros are acquiring Omar Infante. Look at this. Nomar Garciaparra is going to sign a 1-year deal with the Mariners. Ooh, this is actually a big trade. Carlos Lee is going to the Tigers for Brandon Inge and Maglio. Jeff Weaver is signing a 4-year contract with the Kansas City Royals. The Yankees grab Kyle Farnsworth on a 4-year deal. Whoa, AJ Burnett signs an 8-year deal with the Nationals. And that's going to finish the offseason. But now, as far as the draft, I did say that I was going to be adding in the top, like, maybe 5 to 10 players from that year's draft. And for 2005, the draft order was set, obviously, before the season started. So for the sake of this first draft, I'm just going to leave everybody on the team that they were originally drafted by. And this is going to include guys like Justin Upton going #1 overall to the Diamondbacks, Andrew McCutchen getting drafted by the Pirates, Troy Tulowitzki getting drafted by the Rockies. But now going forward with the simulation playing out differently than real life, the draft order is going to change in each year, meaning that these prospects might be getting drafted by other teams. Now, before we get into 2006, I want to share the underdog entry that I made with my stream the other day. My chat and I made an entry featuring 4 players, and we went higher on their home run totals for the season. So we did Ellie, we did Vinny, we did Harper, and we did Roman Anthony. If you guys want to make some season-long entries of your own on Underdog, make sure to sign up with code Cougs, because if you sign up using my code and play just $5, Underdog will give you $75 in bonus funds, win or lose. So sign up on Underdog with code Cougs, and please always play responsibly. But now let's get 2006 underway. We're barely a day into the season and the White Sox are trading away Iguchi. AJ Pierzynski is on the move for the 2nd straight season. Now he's heading to the Washington Nationals. The Nationals are now sending Jose Guillen over to the Astros. The Padres are trading Ryan Klesko to the Mariners. And look at this, we have our first draft player on the move. I added Brett Gardner as one of the players from the 2005 draft class, and the Yankees have traded him to the Texas Rangers. Look at this, the Red Sox are trading away Jonathan Papelbon and they're sending him to St. Louis for Jason Marquis. Cleveland is trading Ryan Ludwig to the Mets for Heath Bell. Oh my God, the Dodgers are getting Edwin Encarnacion from the Reds. The Orioles are sending 3 players over to the White Sox in exchange for John Garland. The Yankees are grabbing Jared Washburn from the Rockies. The A's are getting Bubba Crosby from the Yankees. The Angels are trading their World Series MVP to the Rockies for Clint Barnes. The Mariners are acquiring Aaron Boone. Whoa, dude, Pudge traded to the D-backs. And the Houston Astros get Aaron Heilman from the New York Mets. So once again, we had a ton of trades, but we have finally made it to the All-Star break. Johan ended up getting the most votes for starting pitcher in the AL, with Chris Carpenter getting a ton of votes here in the NL. Joe Mauer will be the AL catcher again, with, once again, Yadier Molina getting it in the NL. First base this time is going to be Mark Teixeira of the Rangers. He's got 35 homers and 103 RBIs at the All-Star break. And there's Albert Pujols in the National League. Second base, we've got Mark Ellis from the A's and Chase Utley from the Phillies. Third base is going to be David Wright and A-Rod, of course. Shortstop is going to be Michael Young and Jimmy Rollins. Miguel Cabrera, once again, will get an outfield spot in the All-Star game. For the American League, it's Manny Ramirez again. Then it's Johnny Damon once again, now with the Twins. Andrew Jones gets another All-Star nod in the National League. And then finally in right field, Brian Giles for the Cardinals. Remember, they picked him up in the offseason. And for the American League, it's Vlad Guerrero. Dude, he got over 1 million votes. In all the simulations I've done on this game, I don't know if I've ever seen it reach over 1 million votes. I mean, he's got 38 homers and 98 ribbies at the break. I mean, dude, what are these seasons? Let's go ahead and get past the trade deadline, though. I'm sure we're going to see more trades like this one between the Nationals and the Brewers. Another one of the prospects has been traded. Jacoby Ellsbury is on his way to the Mets from the Red Sox. The Nationals are trading Jose Vidro to the Cardinals. The Royals are trading Mike Sweeney for Bruce Chen. And now the Tigers are trading Carlos Lee to the Braves. They just got Carlos Lee, didn't they? Yeah, that was the trade with Brandon Inge and Maglio Ordonez. What are the Tigers doing? And that's it. The trade deadline has passed. Let's find out who makes the postseason here in 2006. Once again, in the AL East, the New York Yankees win the division. They finished the year with a 99-63 record. The AL Central was crazy, as both the White Sox and the Twins finished with 100 wins, but the White Sox got the tiebreaker over the Twins, so the White Sox win the division and they get the 1 seed. And over in the AL West, the Angels are looking to defend their title. They win the division with 92 wins. For the wild cards in the AL, of course, the Twins are going to get one with that season. Then you have the Astros and the Oakland Athletics. Now we have the NL East, and the Phillies put together one of the best seasons of all time. They won 114 games. That easily clinches the 1 seed in the NL. The St. Louis Cardinals would win the NL Central again. And this year in the NL West, the Arizona Diamondbacks take home the division at 90-72, which leaves the 3 wildcard teams in the National League as the Atlanta Braves, Los Angeles Dodgers, and Cincinnati Reds. But now we got to check out some awards. In the American League, the MVP belongs to Vladimir Guerrero, hitting 61 home runs with 161 RBIs. Both him and Lance Berkman tied the American League home run record. I gotta know what Mark Teixeira finished at with how crazy he was doing. 42 homers and 132 RBIs. He only got like 30 RBIs in the second half of the season. In the National League, Ryan Howard takes home MVP with 46 homers and 146 RBIs. Honestly, him and Albert Pujols had really similar seasons. I think Ryan Howard's batting average being 12 points higher is probably what secured the win. For the Cy Young, it belongs to Chris Carpenter in the National League with a sub-2 ERA. That's his second straight Cy Young. Meanwhile, in the American League, it belongs to Johan Santana. What an incredible season, 22-7 with a 1.73 ERA. The batting title in the American League belongs to Joe Mauer. He hit 356, beating out Ryan Howard for the Major League batting title by only 1 point. Reliever of the year in the National League belongs to Billy Wagner, so that Mets pickup is looking good. And Houston Street gets it in the American League. He was traded to the White Sox for Freddie Garcia, I believe. And as far as Rookie of the Year going forward, if it's anybody that I actually put into the roster, I'll let you guys know. But all of these guys are those auto-generated players that were drafted in the MLB The Show draft. So now let's get to this postseason bracket. In the American League Wildcard Series, the Twins would beat the Astros, and the Angels would beat the Oakland A's in 3 games. Over in the National League, the Dodgers would knock off the Atlanta Braves, and the Cincinnati Reds take out the NL West champion D-backs. In the ALDS, the 2 100-win teams matched up, and the Chicago White Sox beat the Twins in 4 games. Meanwhile, the New York Yankees knock off the defending champion Angels. They win the series in 4. Now, the Philadelphia Phillies would easily handle the Dodgers with a sweep, and the St. Louis Cardinals survived with a 3-2 series win over the Reds. So the 4 teams remaining are the White Sox, Yankees, Phillies, and Cardinals. What will the World Series matchup be? The Chicago White Sox beat the New York Yankees in 7 games, and the Philadelphia Phillies beat the Cardinals in 6, giving us a matchup between the White Sox and the Phillies in the 2006 World Series. Of course, we know what this White Sox roster is looking like, man. Mark Burley, Canerco, Houston Street, Jermaine Dye. Going further, you got Bobby Jenks, Jose Contreras, Aaron Rowan, Juan Uribe, Ramon Hernandez. Meanwhile, the Phillies are trying to complete one of the best seasons in MLB history. They've got their core of Chase Utley, Bobby Abreu, Ryan Howard, Jimmy Rollins, BJ Ryan, a guy that they signed on a 1-year deal. They have a 35-year-old Jim Thome. Like, the Phillies have to win this, right? Let's find out, man. Game 1 of the World Series is going to go to the Chicago White Sox. Game 2 also goes to the White Sox. No way the Phillies choke this, man. Game 3 goes to the Phillies. All right, Game 4 goes to the Phillies. The series is tied. Game 5 goes to the Phillies. They won all 3 in Chicago, and now they're going to try to finish the job back at home. The Phillies took an early lead in this one. They got a run in the first inning, and they got a run on a Chase Utley sac fly in the second. They were coming out of the gates hot. Jose Contreras is making some huge pitches. He's getting in a lot of trouble, but he's fighting his way out of it. And wait, hold on. Did Jose Contreras just hit a triple? Am I seeing this correctly? 3. Well, doesn't really matter because Aaron Rowan looks at strike 3. It was a perfect pitch from Padilla. Gotta give him that. The White Sox did finally get on the board. And don't forget, this team won 100 games. They were here to fight. I don't think that's going to leave. Is that going to die right in front of the wall? It does get out. Juan Uribe with a 3-run go-ahead home run. Wow. Do not count the White Sox out. Unfortunately for Chicago, this Philly team just had too much firepower. Dude, this Phillies team is unfair. They get that lead right back. Pat Burrell with his 5th homer of the postseason. They're just so good. I mean, 2 on, 2 out here in the bottom of the 8th. If Chase Utley could drive in even one of these runs, that might be the dagger. I think he's going to be driving in more than one. Actually, it did only just bring in 1 run. They're going to intentionally walk Ryan Howard. That's smart. But that's just going to bring up Bobby Abreu. What are we doing? What was that pitch? That's maybe one of the worst pitches I've ever seen. And now here we go, dude. The Phillies are just one strike away from a World Series championship. And there it is. Juan Uribe swings through the breaking pitch, and the Philadelphia Phillies win the 2006 World Series. They went down 0-2 against the White Sox, but, I mean, this team is just so damn good. They won 114 games in the regular season. They had the NL MVP. It was a great season for the White Sox, but they just ran into a juggernaut here in Philadelphia. Bobby Abreu is the World Series MVP with 3 homers and 11 RBIs, hitting .458 over the series. Let's go ahead and jump to the offseason. So taking a look at this free agent class, we have some good starting pitchers with Roy Oswalt, CC Sabathia, Andy Pettitte, Livan Hernandez is available. There are relievers out here like Eric Gagne, and look at this, Mariano Rivera. Mariano in a different uniform might be cursed. There's Brian Giles out there, Mike Cameron, BJ Ryan, Nomar, Mark Mulder, Barry Zito, Kerry Wood, Brad Radke, Cabrera, Aramis Ramirez, Derek Lee, Gary Sheffield. I mean, dude, there's some good players out here. Corey Hunter's also available. I think Barry Bonds should be a free agent, right? I think he was on a 2-year deal. Yeah, Barry Bonds. He is a free agent. He's only 71 overall. That's because of MLB The Show's regression. He's 42 years old. But he did put up a pretty good year last year with 38 homers, 27 doubles, a 309 average, and a 977 OPS. The guy can still produce even at 42. Somebody's got to give him a shot. Okay, we got a trade here between the Mariners and the Angels. The Mariners are trading Jeremy Reed to the Angels. Mike Cameron has signed a 2-year contract with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Michael Young is heading to the Dodgers on a 3-year deal. Oh, here we go. CC Sabathia signs a 6-year contract with the Braves. Oh my God, do not show this to Fuzzy. Cleveland has acquired Francisco Liriano and Mike Redmond, but they traded Grady Sizemore. I'm so sorry, Fuzzy. Okay, the Astros went ahead and just brought back Roy Oswalt. Dude, no way the Phillies just let Jimmy Rollins walk. He just got a 10-year deal with the Cincinnati Reds. And Mariano is signing with the Brewers. Bro, what am I looking at? The Yankees do pick up Brian Giles, so that's a big bat they can add to their lineup. The White Sox pick up Andy Pettitte. The Yankees sign Eric Gagne. I mean, I think in the game, he's a little bit higher overall than Mariano, but why wouldn't you just bring back Mariano? Bro, what is this? The Nationals just traded AJ Burnett to the D-backs in a package that includes Justin Upton. The Nationals just gave AJ Burnett a long-term deal. David Eckstein has been traded to the Astros. Nick Swisher just got traded to the Tigers. The Yankees just traded Jason Giambi and Kyle Farnsworth for Brad Wilkerson from the Rangers, and the Yankees signed Livan Hernandez to a 3-year contract. So that's all the major offseason news. I do want to know where Barry Bonds is, though. Damn, dude, he's still over here in free agency. Nobody wants to give Barry Bonds a shot. The guy just hit 38 home runs in his 40s. That's insane, bro. But now really quickly, I want to talk about the 2006 draft, and I want to let you guys know what players I added in from that draft class. First up, the draft order was set in MLB The Show based off the 2005 standings in the simulation. So this is obviously going to be different than the real 2006 draft. And for the sake of a little chaos and having some fun, I just decided that I was going to put all the players that I chose as the top picks of the draft. Obviously, it's a bit unrealistic where every player that's chosen ends up being, really good at the major league level. There's going to be misses in a real draft. But once again, this is just for fun. We're changing the second half of the decade anyway. So in the 2006 draft, Clayton Kershaw was selected by the Colorado Rockies. Max Scherzer was drafted by the Kansas City Royals. We have another great starter, Tim Lincecum, drafted by the Houston Astros. And there's also some good bats in this draft, with Evan Longoria getting picked up by the Toronto Blue Jays and Justin Turner getting drafted by the Orioles. And I think it's now time to get the 2007 season underway. Our first trade of the season has the A's sending Marco Scutaro to the Cubs. Agon is on the move again. He has been traded from the Marlins to the White Sox. Reed Johnson is going to the Cubs. The Mets are acquiring Aaron Hill from the Blue Jays, and Toronto's getting Jay Wong So. I hope I said that right. The A's are now trading Bubba Crosby to St. Louis. Okay, dude. Mariano Rivera is being traded to the Detroit Tigers. And now the Brewers are trading away Jeff Jenkins to Cleveland in a package that includes Travis Hafner. The Rays are trading Dimitri Young to the Royals. And now the Brewers are trading Brandon Inge to the White Sox for Brandon McCarthy. Definitely some interesting trades here in 07. But you guys know the drill. We are at the All-Star break, and the #1 vote getter for starting pitcher in the AL is Big Sexy. He's dealing with a 2.32 ERA this year. Over in the National League, it's Carlos Zambrano of the Cubs. National League catcher is Javi Lopez, with Joe Mauer once again getting it for the AL. He's gotten it 3 years in a row. David Ortiz is going to be the AL first baseman with Albert Pujols in the NL. AL second baseman is Robinson Cano with 22 homers and 89 ribbies at the All-Star break. And for the National League, Chase Utley takes that spot. National League third base is David Wright, with A-Rod getting it in the American League. AL shortstop is going to be Miguel Tejada, still with the Orioles. Jimmy Rollins, the newest Reds shortstop, gets the top spot in the NL. Still so weird that the Phillies wouldn't bring him back. For the first time in this sim, somebody beat Miguel Cabrera for left field in the National League. That's Matt Holliday. And Manny Ramirez gets the spot again for the AL. In center field for the AL, it's Curtis Granderson, with Brady Clark in the National League. And then finally, National League right fielder is going to be Bobby Abreu. And in the AL, it's Vlad again. Dude, he is insane in this sim. We're going to keep going, and the first trade after the All-Star break is the Brewers trading Maglio Ordonez to the Royals for Alex Gordon. Alex Gordon was one of the players that was in the 2005 draft that I added. And then we have the Pittsburgh Pirates trading Jason Bay to the White Sox. Texas is now trading Jason Giambi to Cleveland, and they're getting Keith Folk. And now the Rangers are trading Chris Young to the Red Sox, and this return for the Rangers includes Clay Buchholz. Once again, another player that I added from the 2005 class. The Tigers are trading Carlos Pena to the Mets. The Twins have acquired Nomar Garciaparra from the Mariners, and that concludes the trade deadline. Definitely some fun moves this year for sure. But now let's see how everything plays out in the second half of the season. Once again, in the American League East, the New York Yankees take the division with 95 wins. That also clinches the 1 seed in the American League. Minnesota would handle business in the Central. They beat the Royals by 4 games for the division. And in the AL West, the Angels have another division championship under their belt, this time only with 89 wins though. The 3 wildcard teams this year are the Toronto Blue Jays, the Kansas City Royals, and the Boston Red Sox. Even without Jimmy Rollins, the Philadelphia Phillies once again have a great season. They win the NL East and get the 1 seed in the league. No surprise here in the Central, the St. Louis Cardinals have once again won the division. And we have a little shakeup in the NL West as the San Francisco Giants win the division. Our National League wildcard teams are the Braves, who actually won 101 games, but they're just in the same division as Philly right now. We have the Diamondbacks and the New York Mets. NL MVP once again goes to Ryan Howard. That's back-to-back for him. And it's the same in the American League. Vladimir Guerrero gets another MVP. It's the same story in the American League for Cy Young. Johan Santana has won another one, this time with a 2.47 ERA. Meanwhile, Carlos Zambrano takes home the hardware in the National League. Chipper Jones did win the NL batting title. He hit 350. Over in the American League, it's Jeff Jenkins at 341, a guy that was traded in this season, remember. The AL reliever of the year is K-Rod with 51 saves and a 2.38 ERA. And for the National League, it's Julian Tavares with 42 saves and a 1.46 ERA. And once again, Rookie of the Year candidates are all just the randomly generated MLB The Show guys. But now it is time for the postseason. Let's start off in the National League this time. We have the Atlanta Braves beating the Arizona Diamondbacks, and the St. Louis Cardinals taking down the New York Mets in 3 games. For the American League, the Kansas City Royals would knock off the Toronto Blue Jays, and the Boston Red Sox would beat the Angels. Now we have the NLDS with the Phillies taking on the Braves, and the Phillies would handle that in 4 games. And in the other NLDS, the St. Louis Cardinals swept the San Francisco Giants. In the AL, the New York Yankees beat the Kansas City Royals in 4, and the Minnesota Twins went to 5 games with the Red Sox and took the series. So it's Yankees Twins in the AL with Phillies Cardinals in the NL. I wouldn't be mad at any World Series matchup here. And we have an upset in the National League. The St. Louis Cardinals knock off the defending champion Phillies in just 5 games. Meanwhile, the Minnesota Twins took the 1 seed Yankees to 7 3-1. Dude, this thing went to extra innings as well. The Twins put up 3 in the top of the 9th and then 2 in the top of the 10th. Doing that to get to the World Series is electric. So our matchup is set. The Minnesota Twins taking on the St. Louis Cardinals. This Twins team is pretty stacked, featuring the back-to-back AL Cy Young winner, Johan Santana. Of course, they've got the best catcher in baseball, Joe Mauer, Justin Morneau, Nomar Garciaparra. They made a trade to get him. They traded for Grady Sizemore. It was what, in the last offseason or just the last season? I can't remember. Joe Nathan, Michael Kadire, Brad Radke, Johnny Damon. But then you've also got the St. Louis Cardinals. They're loaded as well with Albert, with Yachty, Chris Carpenter, Scott Rowland. So let's get it going. The Twins will be home first. The Cardinals win, or no, the Twins win game 1. I'm sorry. The Twins also win game 2. Heading to St. Louis now. The Twins find themselves up 3-0 on the Cardinals. However, in Game 4, the Cardinals would stay alive with a 1-0 victory. And in Game 5, the Cardinals won again thanks to a couple key homers from Albert Pujols and Jim Edmonds. So that sets up this pivotal Game 6 back in Minnesota with the back-to-back AL Cy Young on the mound. The Twins would get the scoring started in the second inning with a sac fly RBI, but check out how the inning actually ended. What a play by Scott Rowland at third base, man. That just saved a run. Jose Vidro gives the Cardinals the lead now. And Johnny Damon ties this thing right back up. Scott Rowland doing it with the glove and the bat. The Cardinals are in front. And then Justin Morneau hits a solo shot. Dude, this is great. This is just back and forth. Johnny Damon now has a bomb. Wait, is that his second of the game? Bro, the Twins are not trying to get to a Game 7. This is the biggest spot of the game. Albert is up as the go-ahead run in the 8th inning. And it's a 3-2 count. They're just going to walk him. They want nothing to do with him. Scott Rowland has made an impact on both sides in this game. Does he have another big moment in him? That might get the runner to third. No, they didn't advance. Can Eric Burns do it? Oh my God, I thought they just threw. Iguchi stayed composed and the Twins are so close. This would be huge insurance from Jason Bartlett. Yeah, no, he's not hitting that. Here we go, man. 9th inning. Joe Nathan is in the game for the Twins. He's got to face 6, 7, and 8 in this Cardinals lineup. Yadier Molina gets on base. We got to jump into watch now. Ooh, he kind of hung that slider too. Craig Wilson, that could be it. That could be the double play. The Minnesota Twins are MLB champions in 2007. Joe Mauer, Justin Morneau, Johan Santana, Grady Sizemore, Nomar Garciaparra, Joe Nathan, all champions here in 2007. That was a fun World Series, man. The Cardinals really fought back. The Twins had just enough to hold on. They win the title in the Metrodome. World Series MVP belongs to Justin Morneau. He hit .478 in the series with 3 homers and 5 RBIs. I've got nothing against the Cardinals. I love Albert. I love Chris Carpenter, all of them, but it was pretty awesome to see this core from the Twins actually secure a title. So now heading into this offseason, I want to point out a few of the retired players because there's some big names in this class. We have Kurt Schilling. We got Moises Alou. Barry Bonds officially decided to retire. It was kind of sad not to see him get a shot anywhere here in 2007, considering the 2006 that he put up. But hey, man, it is what it is. What are you going to do? We also have Roger Clemens deciding to retire. Both Randy Johnson and Greg Maddux have decided to call it a career. There's also Reggie Sanders. There's Tim Wakefield. And none of these guys are going to be Hall of Fame inductees because they're all created players. They don't actually have career stats. Now, before we get anything going in this offseason, I do want to point out that in 2008, the Devil Rays officially became just the Tampa Bay Rays. So I have reflected that change here. So it's nice that we won't have to look at Devil Rays spelled with 2 L's anymore. This free agent class, by the way, is pretty sick. Carlos Zambrano just won the NL Cy Young. He's a 99 overall, and he's now a free agent. There's also Roy Halladay. There's Mark Burley. There's Tim Hudson, Jake Peavy, Adam Dunn, Jeff Jenkins, Josh Beckett, Bartolo Colon, BJ Ryan, Ichiro, Big Papi, Jason Schmidt, Vernon Wells, Joe Nathan. Bro, this free agent class is actually insane. These rosters are about to have a shakeup. And here we go. We're starting off hot as Jimmy Rollins has just been traded in year 2 of a 10-year contract. He's going to the Red Sox, and Cincinnati gets JD Drew back. MLB The Show never disappoints. We got our first big free agent signing. The St. Louis Cardinals have signed Tim Hudson to a 5-year deal, and the reigning Cy Young winner is off the board. He is heading to Baltimore on a 6-year contract. And would you look at that? The Philadelphia Phillies have picked up Roy Halladay. They gave him an 8-year deal. Some things are just meant to be. The Twins have picked up BJ Ryan. The Chicago White Sox have signed a big free agent starter, Jake Peavy, on a 6-year deal. The Blue Jays are trading Edgar Renteria to the Astros. The Atlanta Braves have made another big splash in the starting pitching free agent market. They signed Mark Burley to an 8-year contract. Don't forget, they also signed CC Sabathia in the past offseason. The Cardinals are moving Jason Isringhausen to Seattle. Boston is picking up Jeff Jenkins on a 4-year deal. This guy hit almost 40 home runs last year. The Braves are acquiring Mike Gonzalez from the Diamondbacks, and the Diamondbacks are getting Alfonso Soriano. The Nationals traded Randy Wolf to the Padres. The Yankees are signing Adam Dunn to a 5-year deal. He's going to be crazy in Yankee Stadium. The Yankees have also acquired Bob Howry from the Rangers. The Mets pick up Josh Beckett on a 7-year deal. Oh my God, this just feels right. The Reds are trading Ken Griffey Jr. to the Mariners. Like I said earlier, man, some things are just meant to be. Hey, look at Big Sexy getting a 1-year contract in Chicago. Also, it looks like Boston signed Andrew Jones to a 5-year contract. Not sure why that wasn't highlighted as one of the marquee moves. He's an 89 overall. I feel like that should have been highlighted, but whatever. So those are all the major trades and signings in this offseason. But before we get into 2028, we got to once again talk about the draft. There are some really good players from the 2007 class, and going first overall is Freddie Freeman to the Florida Marlins. Right behind him, Giancarlo Stanton is going to the Royals. I know back then he was Mike Stanton when he was drafted, but I'm just leaving him as Giancarlo. There's also Josh Donaldson going to Colorado, Jason Hayward going to Milwaukee, Anthony Rizzo going to Washington, and there's some great pitchers in this class as well, as David Price just ends up going back to Tampa Bay, Madison Bumgarner ends up with the Padres, Corey Kluber goes to the Giants, Jake Arrieta goes to Pittsburgh, and Rick Porcello goes to Texas. Really fun draft there. Unlikely that any of these guys make an impact on the field in these next 2 seasons, but they could be key pieces in upcoming trades. And with that, we are ready for the 2008 season. I do want to say at this point in the simulation, there are quite a few players that were auto-generated draft picks from MLB The Show. I mean, that's 3 drafts. It's going to be a lot of players. So going through the year, we are going to see some trades that include those guys, but I'm only really going to focus on the players that are real. Like this one right here, the Rangers are trading CJ Wilson to the Brewers. Here we go. This is a fun one. The Phillies are acquiring Miguel Tejada from the Orioles, and they're sending over Shane Victorino. Oh my God, the Brewers are trading away Ryan Braun. They're sending him to the Tigers. Now the Brewers are trading Lyle Overbay to the Royals. The Blue Jays are now trading Alex Rios to the Mets. The Angels are now trading Clint Barnes to Milwaukee. Texas is trading Kyle Farnsworth to Philly. And now that leads us to the All-Star break. Definitely some interesting trades in the first half of the season. CC Sabathia has the most votes for NL starting pitcher in the AL. It's Roy Oswalt. Not really sure how he's beating out Johan when Johan has a better whip, a better ERA, and more strikeouts. It must come down to the win-loss record. NL catcher is Yadier Molina. For the AL, no surprise here, it's Joe Mauer. AL first baseman is Lance Berkman with Albert Pujols in the National League. NL second base honors belongs to Chase Utley with Mark Ellis getting it in the AL. AL third baseman is A-Rod, 31 homers and 85 RBIs at the break. He's killing it. And of course, you've got David Wright again for NL third base. NL shortstop is David Wright's teammate, Jose Reyes. And in the AL, it's Hanley. AL left fielder is Adam Dunn. I knew this guy would be good with the Yankees. And then in the NL, it's back to Miguel Cabrera. NL center fielder is Carlos Beltran with Grady Sizemore in the AL. And no surprise here, it's Vlad in the AL for right field, once again getting over 1 million votes. And then it's Aubrey Huff in the National League. All right, let's see if anything fun happens at the deadline. The Brewers are trading away Jason Vargas. The Padres are now trading Brady Clark to Philly. The Brewers are now trading David DeLucci to the Astros. The Brewers are active as hell on the trade market this year. No. The Angels are trading K-Rod. Texas is now trading Juan Uribe to Kansas City. I didn't even realize Texas had Juan Uribe. Oh man, the Nationals are trading Ryan Zimmerman to Houston. And now the Rangers are trading Mark Teixeira to the Oakland A's. Tampa is also trading Jorge Cantu to Atlanta. And that is it for the trade deadline here in 2008. Some fun players got moved around. And now here at the end of 2008, no surprise over in the AL East, it belongs to the Yankees again. The American League Central belongs to the defending champion Minnesota Twins. They also secure the best record, not just in the AL, but in all of Major League Baseball. And in the AL West, the Oakland A's take the division this year with 90 wins. Our 3 AL wildcard teams are the Kansas City Royals, the Detroit Tigers, and the Houston Astros. Now jumping to the National League East, it is once again the Philadelphia Phillies taking that division. They also secure the best record in the National League. For the NL Central, we have the Pittsburgh Pirates taking down the Cardinals. They won 102 games this year. And finally, the National League West belongs to the Arizona Diamondbacks. They won this division with only 87 wins, which means our 3 wildcard teams are the St. Louis Cardinals with 100 wins, the New York Mets, and the Florida Marlins. Speaking of the Florida Marlins, Miguel Cabrera knocks off Ryan Howard and wins the NL MVP. 49 homers, a .335 average with 150 ribbies. In the American League, his 3rd straight MVP, Vladimir Guerrero, hit .352 with 47 homers and 165 RBIs. The dude is unbelievable. AL Cy Young is Roy Oswalt. He beat out Johan Santana, even though I think Johan probably should have won here. He had more strikeouts, a better ERA. It just came down to pitching wins, dude. NL Cy Young is Pedro Martinez of the New York Mets. 2.97 ERA with over 200 strikeouts. As far as batting title, it's David Wright hitting .365 in the National League, with Vlad hitting .352 in the AL. Also, look at a 38-year-old Ken Griffey Jr. hitting .342 back with Seattle. Mariano is reliever of the year with the Tigers, a 1.92 ERA. You got Gagne right behind him. Mo just had way more saves. In the National League, it is Billy Wagner again, 46 saves with a 1.87 ERA. And once again, Rookie of the Year is auto-generated players. But now we have the 2008 playoffs. In the AL wildcard round, the Kansas City Royals beat the Detroit Tigers in 3, and the Houston Astros take down the Oakland A's. Over in the National League, the Cardinals beat the Mets in 3, and the Arizona Diamondbacks knock off the Florida Marlins. Now in the ALDS, the Kansas City Royals knock off the defending champion Twins in 4 games. Meanwhile, the New York Yankees beat the Houston Astros in 5. In the NLDS, the Philadelphia Phillies beat the St. Louis Cardinals in 5 games, and the Pittsburgh Pirates beat the Cardinals in 4, which sets us up with our championship series matchups. We have the Royals versus the Yankees, and then we have the top 2 seeds in the National League with the Phillies and the Pirates. Once again, I would not be mad at any of these World Series matchups. And in the American League, the Kansas City Royals beat the Yankees in 7. Didn't the Yankees also lose in extra innings in Game 7 last year as well? This one went to 11 innings and the Royals put up a run in the 11th and the Yankees couldn't answer. And in the National League, the Philadelphia Phillies would not have much trouble with the Pirates. They beat them in 5, giving us a matchup between the Kansas City Royals and the Philadelphia Phillies in the 2008 World Series. I need to look at this Royals roster. You've got Zach Greinke, Juan Uribe, David DeJesus, Mike McDougal, Jeff Weaver, Lyle Overbay, Maglio, I kind of forgot he was here, Kelvin Escobar. The Angels traded him over here. But then you have the Phillies, man. They're doing it without Jimmy Rollins. They made a trade to get Miguel Tejada. They still have Utley. They have Roy Halladay this year, Ryan Howard, Bobby Abreu, Kyle Farnsworth, Jim Thome still playing. Yeah, this is going to be a tough team to beat again. But let's see if Kansas City can do something special right here. We're going to simulate Game 1. It goes to the Phillies. Game 2 goes to Kansas City. Heading over to Kansas City now. Game 3 goes to them. Game 4 goes to the Phillies. Game 5 goes to Kansas City. They are one win away from knocking off the Phillies. So let's see if Kansas City can pull this off. Now, there really wasn't much action in this game through the first 6 innings. It was kind of a pitcher's duel on both sides. But the Royals finally gave themselves a decent chance to score in the 7th inning. Oh my God. Lyle Overbay 3-run bomb to give Kansas City the lead here in Game 6. Are they actually going to pull this off? It's 5-0. Oh my God. I mean, if there's any team that can pull off a comeback like this, it's the Phillies with their roster. But Jeff Weaver is finding himself in some trouble trying to go for a complete game shutout to win the World Series. And the Royals are going to make the smart move here. Andy Cisco is coming in the game. He is facing a really scary part of the order, but it's a 5-run lead. He should be able to do this. That should be out number 1. Ryan Howard hit that really well. That ball's carrying. Oh my God! A home run robbery with the World Series on the line. David DeJesus just made one of the best plays in World Series history. I mean, that's gotta be it, man. If you're the Phillies, that has to be demoralizing. And Bobby Abreu strikes out. The Kansas City Royals are your 2008 World Series champions. Maglio, Juan Uribe, Zach Greinke, David DeJesus. This team comes in and beats the Phillies, the team that actually won the World Series in 2008. That is a wild upset. The Royals World Series MVP is Dmitry Young. He hit .429 with a homer and 3 RBIs in the series. I just can't believe this Royals roster knocked off that Phillies juggernaut. But now looking at this 2008-2009 free agent class, we have some big names. Brandon Webb, Jose Reyes, Johan Santana, Pedro Martinez, Bobby Abreu, Jorge Posada, Ichiro again, Billy Wagner, Bartolo Colon, Mark Teixeira, Gagne again, Aaron Harang, Brian Fuentes, John Lackey, Carlos Guillen, BJ Ryan, Andy Pettitte, Carl Crawford, Mark Ellis. This is another stacked free agent class, man. And we have our first major trade of the offseason with Houston Street being traded to the Giants, and the White Sox are getting Melvin Mora and Chad Cordero. And one of the big starting pitchers is off the board. Johan Santana has an 8-year contract with the Houston Astros. The Phillies are signing Brandon Webb. They're just adding to that rotation. The Braves are trading Hideki Matsui to the Royals. I didn't even realize Hideki Matsui was off the Yankees. Speaking of the Yankees, they've picked up Bobby Abreu on a 3-year deal. The Twins have traded Mark Pryor to the Mets. The D-backs have signed Brad Lidge on a 4-year contract. The Braves have signed Jose Reyes to be their new shortstop. Billy Wagner has made his way to the Phillies on a 2-year deal. The Reds have traded Jay Gibbons to the Brewers. This is good. Ichiro is back with Seattle on a 1-year deal. He hit .330 with 26 homers and 107 RBIs last year. K-Rod has signed a 4-year contract with the St. Louis Cardinals. Pedro Martinez is just going back to the Mets on a 2-year deal. The Mets are also acquiring Brad Radke from the Twins. The Yankees are just bringing back Jorge Posada on a 1-year contract. And that's pretty much it for free agency in the 2008 to 2009 offseason. And then finally, we have the 2008 draft. This will be the last draft class added in for this video because we're only doing one more season. And once again, these guys will probably not have any impact on the field, but they could have impact in trade situations. And from this 2008 class, we have some really good players, guys that were part of a World Series core, like Buster Posey and Brandon Crawford. Posey's going to Seattle and Crawford is going to Tampa. Eric Hosmer will not be heading to Kansas City. He's actually heading to Detroit. Charlie Blackmon is going to the Nationals. And for pitching, Lance Lynn will be going to the Padres, with Craig Kimbrell going to the Pirates. And with that, we can now head into the final season of the video. We're in 2009, and the second half of the decade has played out significantly different than it did in real life. No team who won a World Series in real life has won in the same year here in this simulation. Will the Yankees break that streak, or will somebody else win that World Series? Let's find out. Ooh, look at this. The Mets have traded Jacoby Ellsbury to the Giants for Sergio Romo. What a start. The Mets are now trading Kaz Matsui to the Giants. The Twins are trading Jason Bartlett to the White Sox. The Blue Jays are now trading Tony Clark to the Tigers. The Phillies are trading away Jim Thome up to Toronto. The Mets are now trading BJ Ryan over to their division rival, the Atlanta Braves. The Rangers are trading Hank Blaylock to Washington. Jason Hayward has been traded. Oh my God, the Blue Jays have sent Vernon Wells to the Marlins, and in return, they get a package that includes Freddie Freeman. Freddie's going to be playing in Canada. The Reds are trading Javi Lopez to the White Sox. And that was the last trade leading into the All-Star break. So let's check out some of the best performers. We've got Jake Peavy as the AL starting pitcher, with Bartolo Colon getting the most votes in the National League with the Cincinnati Reds. National League catcher is going to be Brian McCann. And Joe Mauer has now secured his 5th consecutive starting appearance in the All-Star game. AL first baseman is Lance Berkman, with Albert Pujols over in the NL. National League second baseman is Chase Utley, with Aaron Hill not too far behind. In the American League, it is Nick Punto of the A's. Over at third base, it's Alex Rodriguez. And in the National League, somebody finally knocked off David Wright. It's going to be Mark DeRosa of the Colorado Rockies. NL shortstop is going to be Jose Reyes with the Atlanta Braves, having an unbelievable season, by the way. Hanley Ramirez gets it again over in the AL. For outfield, David DeLucci of the Astros gets the starting spot in the AL. And there's Miguel Cabrera doing his thing, getting another starting spot in the All-Star game. Over in center field, it's Carlos Beltran again in the NL, and Todd Ortiz in the AL. Oh, this is one of the auto-generated players. Damn it. And finally, of course, Vlad Guerrero gets the AL starting spot in right field, with Aubrey Huff getting it again in the NL. It's definitely been really fun to see what these all-star teams have looked like with all of these players in the game, especially the ones that we don't actually have as legends in MLB The Show. Now, we're going to go ahead and get to the trade deadline, but not before the Mariners trade away Buster Posey. What are you doing, Seattle? I was unaware that Pudge was on the Brewers, but he has now been traded to the White Sox. The Rays are trading away Johnny Gomes to Atlanta. The Brewers have traded JJ Hardy over to Arizona. The Reds are trading JD Drew to Washington. Rocco Baldelli is getting traded to Cleveland. Julio Lugo has been traded to the Marlins. And that concludes the 2009 trade deadline. A lot of players have ended up on very different teams than they were in real life. Now, here at the end of 2009, we'll start with the National League, as the Phillies have won yet another NL East title. The Cardinals would take back the NL Central with 101 wins. That's also good for the 1 seed in the National League. And for the National League West, the Arizona Diamondbacks win the division again, which sets up our 3 wildcard teams as the Atlanta Braves, Washington Nationals, and San Francisco Giants. As far as the American League in the East, the Boston Red Sox win the division. They only won 87 games, but it was good enough for a division title. In the Central, even without Johan Santana, the Minnesota Twins still take the division and the 1 seed in the league. And for the AL West, the Houston Astros take the division with a 93-win season. And the 3 wildcard teams in the American League are the Detroit Tigers, Chicago White Sox, and Baltimore Orioles. And now, taking a look at some awards, Vladimir Guerrero has been dethroned. Lance Berkman takes back the AL MVP. And in the National League, Miguel Cabrera wins it again. Another huge season for him, 46 homers and a .355 average. NL Cy Young is a auto-generated player. Mark Burley was right behind him, and honestly, Mark Burley probably should have won. This game has got to stop weighing pitching wins so damn much. For the American League, though, it is Zach Greinke. He actually had an incredible year at a 2.02 ERA. The AL batting title belongs to Sean Figgins of the Angels, with Miguel Cabrera taking it in the NL. Reliever of the year is Billy Wagner again, this time with the Phillies. In the AL, it is Akinori Atsuka, 1.62 ERA with 43 saves for Boston. And finally, Rookie of the Year is all auto-generated players. Damn, I was hoping one of the players from one of the draft classes would get one of these awards, but oh well. So now we can head to our final postseason bracket. Let's start off in the National League, as the Atlanta Braves beat the Washington Nationals and the Philadelphia Phillies beat the Giants in 3. Over in the AL, the Detroit Tigers beat the Chicago White Sox and the Red Sox survive against the Baltimore Orioles. In the NLDS, the Atlanta Braves take down the 1 seed St. Louis Cardinals and the Phillies sweep the Arizona Diamondbacks. In the AL, the Minnesota Twins beat the Tigers in 5 and the Boston Red Sox take out the Houston Astros. These are going to be some good championship series matchups. We got the Braves and the Phillies with the Twins versus the Red Sox. I'm kind of rooting for Red Sox Braves. I think that would be a fun one. We've already seen Minnesota and Philadelphia, but we'll see what happens. Well, the Atlanta Braves do end up beating the Philadelphia Phillies in 6 games, and the Boston Red Sox take out the Minnesota Twins, giving me the World Series matchup I was hoping for between the Boston Red Sox and Atlanta Braves. This Braves team has made a lot of moves in the past few years, signing Mark Burley, signing CC Sabathia. They gave Jose Reyes a big contract. Brian McCann has played really well as a young catcher for them. They've also got BJ Ryan, Orlando Hudson, Jeff Francoeur. They have a 37-year-old Chipper Jones. And then you have the Boston Red Sox led by Jeff Jenkins, Hanley Ramirez, Jimmy Rollins, Kevin Youkilis, Chris Young, Andrew Jones, Ted Lilly. I think on paper, I would have to say the Braves are probably the favorite to win this. But let's find out what happens. Here in Game 1, it goes to the Braves. Game 2 also goes to the Braves. Heading up to Boston now, the Red Sox win Game 3. The Braves win Game 4. And now it's time to find out if Atlanta can finish the job. The Red Sox took a 2-1 lead into the 5th inning in this one, but Atlanta found themselves with some base runners. That's a fair ball. That's going to tie this game. Wow, dude, that barely stayed in the line. And now Jeff Francoeur is hitting .414. He could give them the lead in this World Series clinching game. Ground ball to second. They're going to make that play. Damn, if he would have gotten on, Chipper was on deck. Jeff Francoeur did not come through in that spot, but the baseball gods would give him another opportunity in the 8th inning. Jeff Francoeur has another opportunity, though. 2 on, 2 outs. In the top of the 8th, and that ball is going way over the green monster. The Atlanta Braves are now up by 3 in the 8th inning. Okay, the Red Sox do answer back, though. That's going to get another run home. So it's back to just a 1-run lead for Atlanta, but they're only 4 outs away from closing this thing out. Let's see if they can get any insurance in the top of the 9th. They go 1, 2, 3. Jimmy Rollins will be leading off the bottom of the inning. He strikes out. Jeff Jenkins gets a single. Dan Wheeler's got to clutch this out now. I don't know why it says Jimmy Rollins is at the plate. That is very clearly not Jimmy Rollins. That should do it. That should be a double play to give the Braves the 2009 World Series championship. They have made so many moves in the offseason, signing megastars like CC Sabathia, Jose Reyes, Mark Burley. And in the 2009 season, it has all paid off with a World Series title. And World Series MVP belongs to Jeff Francoeur. He hit .412 with 3 homers and 9 RBIs in the World Series. That's a pretty impressive stat line for just 5 games. But ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end. We have completely changed the second half of the 2000s decade. No team won a World Series in the same year they did in real life in this simulation. The only team to even win a World Series in this 5-year window that actually won in real life was the Philadelphia Phillies. They just did it 2 years earlier in this simulation. So guys, that is going to do it. I hope you enjoyed this 2005 restart. I know there was a lot of weird stuff going on with adding players from draft classes and a team being in the wrong league and a different postseason format. Some of that stuff is out of my control, and I just figured, you know what? Let's make the best of it and have fun anyway. I really hope you enjoyed. Drop a like if you did. I'll catch you guys in the next one.